because I'm always blessed to have some wonderful guests joining me on my live stream on Wednesday evenings as we talk and have some conversation about some interesting things. And of course, this evening is no less because I have a very special gentleman with me that we're going to learn some things about. And even those who may think you know him, I guarantee you there is something you're going to learn about this man this evening. And I am going to learn some things, although I have known quite a bit. But I am excited to have with me this evening the phenomenal Mr. Robert Nicholas, and I've been promoting him as the maestro, as the genius, as the bookmaster, and I don't think I've been exaggerating it, and you will find out as we go along. So welcome, Mr. Nicholas. Thank you for joining me on Let's Talk with the Doc.
Thank you, Bishop. And those are some very kind words. I do appreciate that. I'm a humble person by nature, but thank you. Thank you for
Of
having me.
course, and of course, I know you're a humble person by nature, and those of us who know you know that. Um,
Mhm.
your achievement is not humble. Your hard work is not humble. No, that's aggressive push forward. So I am excited to hear a little bit more about not a little bit, but how much I can hear about this man that I have been watching for years as you develop yourself and as you pursue your dreams and your goals. But before we get into the nitty gritty of all those achievements, tell me something about Robert. Robert childhood days, parents, sibling, where Robert's born. What was Robert's life like in his childhood days? Coming up.
Well, it's that's a great question because you'll find that I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. Came from a very large family.
Okay.
I had nine brothers, one sister.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I am the last one
Oh, you are the
of all the
last one.
family.
See,
Right. Yeah.
that's just news to me already. But keep going.
Yeah. So, as the last of a nine brother family, you find that as a child, I was I had to do a lot of learning on my own, and I think that's where my self discipline was fostered, and I was truly grateful for it. When I was young, I wasn't grateful for it, but going through life, I got to learn things on my own. I got to do things on my own, and my brothers fostered sort of like a manhood from early stages. As I grew up, I went to one of the top high schools in Trinidad, and again, I was really fortunate to go through high school where their competition was so aggressive,
Hmm.
and it was healthy competition, not the aggressive type. It's the competition where each one of my friends wanted to get an A in math or A in English, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
if your friend got an A, you want an A plus.
All right. All right.
So
All
yeah,
right.
so that fostered a lot, and we competed with everything from sports to education to races. I mean, it was 5 years of pure healthy competition.
Mhm.
So that fostered my self-discipline, and it also fostered the way I think as well. And I'm truly grateful for that. When I graduated from college, I wanted to get into university. It was called UE at the time in
Right.
Trinidad, and it
Right.
still is.
We call that you in Jamaica too. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was just too crowded. I took every course, every engineering course, civil course in Trinidad, and passed with flying colors. But unfortunately, in my country, and I think for most Caribbean countries, they space is limited, right?
Right.
If I got a 95, there's like 1,000 other students that got a 95, and the
Mhm.
space was limited to like maybe 50 people. So I went through a lot of that and quickly realized that the odds were against me. So I moved up here to the great old US.
Oh, so that was a driving force behind you coming to the US just for. expansion, more opportunities?
Correct.
Okay.
My childhood, my dream was architecture. I
Okay.
wanted to be an architect. And believe it or not, in high school, I actually had a contract and had someone build a house from my designs, which which was pretty interesting as I was young. So I
Somebody built an house from your design.
yep. We drafting, that was one of my key majors in high school was drafting. So I could do it really well, and I had some, I just had a creative mind. And working with someone this guy who wanted to build his house, he saw my designs and he was like, hey, I want to build a house, on this hill here somewhere, and can you build this, can you help me build this? And I was like, well, yeah, but isn't it? So it was a really great experience to see what you drafted, the foundation, checking the soil and all that stuff, all the engineering aspects came to life. And the guy, he believed in me and he believed in my design and the structural integrity of my design, and he built his
Wow.
house.
Wow.
So yeah, after that, that was it. I was like really, and that's what I tried to go to the university for, to study architecture. So my dreams kind of got demotivated when as I tried to get into these schools. So that was my next step. I said, well, I'm going to the US, to spread my wings and go to college and learn architecture.
So
And
I just want to reflect a little bit because
mhm,
that's already breaking news to me, right? So I want to reflect a little bit on what I already heard. And by the way, my friends who are and who are listening and watching, if you haven't yet shared, you better need to share this because this is going to be an inspiration. You have children, friends, you want to hear a man who pushed himself by himself and reached the top level. You need to share this so that others can be inspired. So you're telling me right up front that your discipline of learning stem from being competitive in school because
that's right.
because because of the limitations of the available spaces. You have to come on top, and so if your friend get an A, you have to get an A plus in order to outdo your friend. So the drive was already there from that, and you wanted to be an engineer, an architect, and then even from those early days, you designed something that was so impressive that somebody actually built their house from that young man design. From high school time, that was.
Yep, that was that was 716.
That was incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah,
So you said part of the discipline came from you being the last child. It's kind of I kind of find that strange a little bit because I know the norm was the middle child. If there was the middle child is always like the isolated guy or the a girl who
mhm.
does things on their own. If there is a one, two, three, but you being the last guy, I would have thought that all of your siblings, brothers, would be pouring into you and dragging you along to help you to go. But you find it completely different, opposite of that.
Yes, it was opposite. It's an interesting we were my family and I, when I grew up, um when I was little, they were around, they showered me because I was the baby child of the whole family. But as soon as I started hitting 11, 12 years old, um I guess my brothers say, okay, time to be a man, at
Okay.
11, 12 years old.
Okay.
So when I started learning about, how to fix a car, how, building a house, working in trade, reading books, they wouldn't show me how to do those things. And I know their reason. Their reasoning was, you have to learn. And one of the comments my brothers used to always tell me that I never, ever, ever forgot was when he gave me something to do, he gave me very little instruction. So, being young, well, what exactly do I need to do? And he would tell me, common sense come before book.
Okay, so
And
I see my wife is saying over there on the chat that you should have gotten big bucks for your design. I won't go into that to find out what the return was, but we keep on going.
right? Yeah, so it was, they they created an environment where I had to research, I had to explore on my own. Architecture was something I shared with them a lot about as well, and I shared my dreams and aspirations with them. And
Mhm.
they always told me, go out and learn about the world. My mother was my inspiration. My
Mhm.
mother was my total inspiration. A very passive person, very kind, soft voice. My wife met her once. And little Sean met her, but he can't remember. But she always said, an education, you get an education, and after that, you can do whatever you want in life. She
And
said,
that
but
is
get your education first and foremost.
okay. So how are you are your siblings, are you all smart people that
Hmm.
that have done well, or are you the shining star somewhere at the bottom?
Well, I would have to say we have quite a few shining stars. All my brothers are shining stars.
Okay.
Some that are in trade work really good at engineering a house, building a house from scratch.
Okay.
They've had wonderful contracts, in the building industry. One of my two of my brothers are mathematicians. Um, yeah, super, really smart. One of my other brothers, he's in politics. He's a politician. I don't know if he's still doing it now, but he was very good at it. Had a whole county he was responsible for. And a couple other my brothers, they work in trade and stuff like that. So um, they weren't as fortunate. Because my brothers are older than me, they weren't as fortunate to have the educational opportunities.
Okay.
Um, so I was fortunate to have that opportunity, and I took full advantage of it. So
So by the time you came around, things have changed for the family, so there was more to pour into you. Yeah,
correct.
the early child, if the parents didn't have the big start, then the early child or early children sometimes are at a little disadvantage. Later on, as they progress, then the last kid come down, maybe have it pouring in now, as well as bigger brother and sister might be helping out a little bit too and all of that. So it could
Right.
make things different to you. So man, I've learned a lot already just in the first few minutes as you just opening the floor, that I've learned a lot already. All right, so when did you, and I hear you say that you have these aspirations and dreams from early. So
Mhm.
when did you change from wanting to be an architect? When did you choose what else you're going to pursue after you walk away from that one?
So let me begin with life is a journey, right?
Right, exactly,
And
exactly.
it's a journey of searching for where you belong.
Hmm.
But more importantly, is also searching for what you love. Liking something for money doesn't get you anywhere. And I learned that really early, at an early age, with my family.
Right.
Um, so when I came to the US, seeking the architecture, I went to almost every college in the tri-state area to talk to every counselor across New York City, consulting with them on how do I get into the college and how do I study the architectural role. And I collected a ton of information. I said, okay, I have a plan now. And then at the New York Tech, I asked the consultant if he knows architects in the field working. And he said, sure. And he connected me with three architects. And I spoke to all three of them. And that's when the bad news happened. When they told me the rigor and the amount of years, which was 10 years before you
Wow.
officially become an architect, at that time, that blew me away.
Mhm.
They said you have to work for an apprentice for 5 to 8 years. And they said after that, you have to pass the architectural engineering exams, which is a lot of rigorous exams.
Mhm.
And then you become an official architect. So I said, well, working as an apprentice, what do I do? And then they told me it's like trying to become a doctor, right? Before you become a doctor, you have to do all the operational work, run and grab this and that, and support a full-time doctor, full-time
So
architect.
you're the support
And
guy in the process.
Yeah, so that piece of information there kind of turned my eyesight to other things. And I had a computer at the time, what's called a computer aided drafting computer with software on it at that time. And as I learned to architect buildings in the computer, I started getting closer and closer to the computer environment.
Mm.
So when I heard the bad news, I started focusing more on the computer systems. And that's where my mind changed from being an architect to a computer technician. So that's where the change occurred. It occurred because of the comments, because of the feedback I got through
Hmm.
my research of what it
Hmm.
takes to be an architect. And yeah, I was young, very ambitious. Um,
So you thought you were ready for becoming an architect, especially what you already did at the age of 16. You say, man, I'm fast, I'm fast forwarding myself here. So when you hit
right.
the reality of what it really is, you say, oh my God.
Yeah. Doing doing 5 years of 5 years of college on in architecture, majoring in buildings engineering, then putting out an additional 5 to 8 years as an apprentice, and then becoming an architect.
Wow.
That's a long way off when you're 20 years old and you're looking at that
You
distance.
have
That's
32,
not
34,
encouraging.
right?
That was not encouraging. So but it goes to show, right, that these are the challenges you face,
Mhm,
when you're young, when you're trying to find your way.
mhm.
And it doesn't mean if you have a dream, there's some challenges that you give up. I didn't really give up. I pivoted to something else, so that's important to know too as well, that if you hit any roadblocks with your dreams, you have options, and I chose an option. So
Well, that's one good thing about you because you weren't one dimensional, kind of. Or at
mhm,
least you have some of the fundamental things that could push you in another direction if you chose to do that, which you actually did.
mhm,
So that is exciting. And so you already told me you came to the US and you were pursuing your dreams and you divert from being architect to go into the heart and the soul of computer systems,
mhm,
etc. I don't know if you did programming or you just go into the technological aspect of it. You didn't do designing and all of that, just like trying to know how it functions, maybe, or the
mhm,
functionality of the computer.
mhm. I did everything:
Everything.
programming, technician, database design, website design. I did everything in my job. I hit every layers from the technician, go all the way up to the top. So,
It is no wonder. I am talking to Robert, Terry, Nicholas, and we're gonna come a little bit closer to who this man is. But I'm excited because already I've learned a lot about this man. I've known him for many years, and I'll tell you why I know him for all these many years. And so you came here and and you found a lady.
mhm.
How did that
Yeah.
happen? Because I don't remember if I asked her how that happened, but
Oh, well, that's a really interesting story. When I came up and I was do my self searching, right? I ended up working in a restaurant selling buffalo wings, and fast food restaurant in Park Slope. And I I became sort of the manager of this fast food restaurant. The owner he wasn't a workaholic like I was, so
Mhm.
he always left and left me running
Oh,
things.
okay, all right.
Yeah, so I'm in there, working, and this beautiful lady stepped in to the store and said, "Hey, I'm an agent, selling safety products for businesses, small businesses, and one of my I sell fire things like fire extinguishers, sprinklers, those sorts of things." And you know, of course, myself, pulled her to the side from the cash register, and of course, we started having a conversation. And that conversation led to a date.
Just like
And
that.
that date, that's like, yeah.
So
So,
somebody was selling and buying at the same time, right?
right, there was a trade, there was negotiations
Great.
going on there. So, oh man, oh, that's funny.
So that's where you met Carly, Marcia, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, and that's stuck until today, and that's a long time ago. So what I wanted to say for those who don't know, this man is my brother-in-law. We have one thing in common. We have one thing in common, that we married two sisters. So we have that in common. All right. So Robert is my brother-in-law, and a phenomenal man who has been self-taught, and you're gonna hear a lot more. You haven't heard anything yet. I personally, I personally knew you in the pursuit of your dreams, but I had no clue the depth of your brilliance from childhood days. This is just like breaking news to me to know all that you achieved, and the drive and the passion and the discipline and the determination and the pursuit and the self-propelled attitude you had that took you to this point. All right. So now, before we go into the process of that, and I'm not necessarily gonna say where you work, because I don't normally talk where people work, particularly in my discussion, for a different reason, because different companies and organizations have different ethical reasons why we don't say, exactly where they work. But
Mhm.
you have become, currently you are, you work with a State Department licensing. You are the Chief Information Security Officer. Chief Information Security Officer. Before we come to the steps and the process of getting there, tell me what that is in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, that's a person responsible for protecting an organization from external threats. These threats are not just
Not just
viruses and worms and malware. It's everything from business functions, enterprise, organizational change management, um, workflows, fraud, you name it, any type of potential risks, reputation risk, financial risks. A CISO is responsible for protecting an organization from those risks. So it includes a lot of enterprise level um, solutions and technologies, bringing people together, um, s- extremely strong communications with your peers, negotiation, lots and lots of things, and most importantly, being a very, very strong leader.
strong leader. So you're not a soft guy, as maybe some would maybe look outside and see Robert as this quiet going guy, not saying much. Some people may think you're soft, but you're not soft.
No, the field doesn't demand that. The field
It-
demands yeah,
okay.
it demands you have to be strict, you have to be able to follow protocol, and you have to be able to enforce.
Mm,
It's akin to law enforcement, enforcing the law. Well, we're enforcing security. And I do a lot of policy writing. And when policies are written, they are the law in organizations. And it's up to the CISO and the organization itself to promote this law, educate users, employees on this law. And it's up to the CISO to ensure compliance and ensure that the law is enforced. So, yeah.
right, I hear you. Now I hear the CISO. I've never heard anybody say CISO before, but now I'm getting the CISO, and I say, okay, Chief Information Security Officer, CISO. All right. So now let's go into the career development process. You and my wife is so proud of you. You would imagine, because she's just like typing away over there, and just dropping in. Later on, we maybe we give a chance to get some questions. Maybe somebody want to ask a question about, we'll give a chance for the chat later on to see what people, if somebody want to ask a question. But let's begin the process now. All right. So you're no longer at the fast food buffalo wings or whatever wing that you were doing. Now you're stepping up into bigger things, dreams and aspirations. Now open doors of opportunity. So you started off beginning your career as a help desk technician, in the private sector, a help desk technician. That's the scratchy part. What was that intake?
Uh, that's a role in an organization where a help desk technician fixes computers. You could think of it as the start of really getting to learn about computer systems, the inner workings of it, the hardware, also learning about the software, the operating system. We've all heard the name Windows and Apple. Those
Mhm.
are the operating systems.
Right.
So it's about learning and pretty much troubleshooting day in, day out, your customers' issues and concerns. So, and also advising them as well on what's the best practices. So a help desk technician is all about that. It's a lot of movement,
Okay,
a
okay,
lot
so
of
so it is actually in the in the computer technology world. For example, maybe somebody at a Best Buy kind of thing, who out front, who would, do a, okay,
right.
like the Geek Squad kind of thing.
Geek Squad, correct.
Okay, okay,
Good.
all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. But and as much as that was fascinating, but you were never satisfied because you're always looking at bigger things.
Right.
And so from there, working at a help desk technician in the private sector, you moved up into career demonstrating leadership qualities from supervisor to manager into the information security field. What was your next step from help desk technician before we get to where you really are now at the CISO?
So while I was a help desk technician, I was going to college doing computer science. So I was working full time, going to college doing computer science, and here's where the the aha moment happened.
Okay.
And this is great because when you're in college, I conduct many interviews first and foremost, and I interview a lot of folks who are in college learning and stuff. And while I was in college, I learned a lot of really great stuff in computer science. That's where the programming background comes from.
Mhm.
And I learned to I learned a lot of theory, but I was working with computers at the same time. So again, I have to say that sometimes, placing yourself in the right position helps you realize what you really are, what your roadmap should be.
Mhm.
And the computer science work was not very helpful in the real world work. And I realized that. And I said, okay, my brain is going in two different directions here at the same time, which is really difficult. So I looked at the computer certifications, and that's where the aha moment came in.
Mhm.
Went to Barnes and Nobles, started sitting down reading these 4-inch books, thick books,
Yeah, those. Yeah,
and
I've seen a few.
yeah, yeah. And as I read through it, I realized the certification material was closer to practical real world experience, more so than the college experience. The college experience really sharpens your mind. There is no doubt the value there. But I was working and I needed to ensure that I move up in my job. So as I started doing the certifications, that's when the roadmap approach hit me, and I needed to make a decision whether I stay in college, continue, finish, or I pursue a certification track, a career, a roadmap, if you will.
Mhm.
And I decided to move forward with the certification track. And this is not for everyone. I would say this right now, but it's a guide for you to try to, for the young folks out there who's listening, to try to put yourself in a position where you can actually make the determination of where you need to go. Please go to college, get your 4 year, 5 year degree, whatever it may be. But I dropped out and chose a practical track,
Mm,
and I moved up as I got more responsibility in my job. The bosses, my direct reports, quickly realized that I could handle the shop, so they started leaving me on my own to handle things, and I handled it, and I worked really well. So I started getting promotions as system administrator, which is a step up from help desk technician, which now you're responsible for not just hardware or software, you're responsible for databases and thing platforms like a program, that where you had to learn how it works, what it connects to. It was more complicated than a help desk technician role, and it was more critical. And as I got more responsibility, I started getting learning more. So that's a part of how I started moving up in my area of expertise.
and again, it
Mhm.
knowledge is point, and it warrants one knowing, because the depth of your involvement and pursuit. I mean, I had no clue. Just this conversation is giving me a wide open door into what Robert was doing for all those years, that we weren't seeing Robert anywhere, right? We just weren't seeing Robert anywhere, and all we could hear, that from your wife, that says, "How's Robert?" He's studying, he's studying. And when we do run into you, when I came by your place or run into you anywhere, it was always Robert. Is Robert is doing so. I remember quite well, for years upon years, you almost put yourself under house arrest with those with
Mm,
those with those 4 inches books, you know um uh, uh surrounded with those books of all types and sizes, determined to attain excellence. I remember us having conversations and you telling me what you were in pursuit of, but I didn't even understand the depth of that, and what it required in the
mm,
process to get there. So now you put yourself on your own track,
mhm.
and you're going to determine how you're going to navigate that track, because you're seeing your dream long way down the road, way ahead, and you were going to go after it no matter what. So one I remember childhood days, in Sunday school. One Sunday school lesson was persistence brings result, and I could see that in you. And I remember one of my all-time favorite quote. My wife will tell you this. My all-time favorite quote is that the greatness of a man is not what it and it's not by an unknown author. The greatness of a man is not what it takes to get him started, but what it takes to stop him. So now you began your certification process, and it wasn't one, it wasn't two, it wasn't five, it wasn't 10, but you've gone to 15 certification uh, certificates in the professional information technology and security certification. So tell me about that. Tell me about the certification process and progression, and why there is another, the need for another, need of another, until you get to 15 and still have to go to college for one more certification. Bring us into that mentality of Robert, as he just continued to skyrocket, or reaching for the sky.
So knowledge in a specific one area for me is for me, I see it as limited, right? We have these careers that's defined for us on how we work, these roles and responsibilities in organizations or in business. But one of the things I learned early as I was doing the certifications at A plus, Security plus, Network plus, those were some of the you call them the foundational certifications. But as I touched on each one, I realized that there was a need to learn more. And by working in these private organizations, I realized conversations, they never stood one place, and that's one of the early things you need to really learn in life is that if you learn one particular trade or practice, an accountant or whatever it is that you're doing, then you will have a huge, and I mean a huge advantage if you learn other trades because not everyone diversifies.
Mhm,
Most people look for the short road and learn one
mhm,
thing, and that's all I'm going to learn for the rest of my career,
mhm,
and I'm going to
mhm.
get paid X amount of dollars, and I'll stay with this company forever. Um, that leaves you at a disadvantage because you're competing with 10 million other folks who's doing the same thing. But if you diversify and learn other areas, you find you'll be competing with maybe 5,000 people. That
Okay.
the odds are better for you there.
Mhm,
Um, when I started learning the certifications, I learned a lot on the technician side. I went into the engineering side and then the architectural side of things, Cisco, CCNA, CCDA. And I apologize for abbreviation, but there's Cisco Certified Network Associates and all that stuff. Lots of abbreviations. Um, but what I realized I had a love for, I had a knack and a love for information and cybersecurity. Um, and from the first six certifications, I changed my role and responsibility in those six certifications to a more of a security track.
mhm,
So my other nine certifications are all information and cybersecurity certification tracks. So it was an interesting change, and it again um, I went above and beyond. Some folks don't really have to go above and beyond. They will do one certification and call it a day. And I'm certified as a security professional. But every certification I did, I learned something new. And that was the appetite. That was the food for thought for me. You know, I learned something new with every certification I did. And having the additional credentials, the businesses that I worked for, they recognized it right away.
mhm.
And as soon as they saw me, I said, "Hey, I got the certification. I'm a CISSP certified." Their eyes went back, and they're like, "When did you get that?" Like it would take me years. Right? I'm like, "Oh, well, over the weekend, I went
Ah,
Saturday. I went and did the exam," and they were like, "Whoa!" And soon after, it's either I got a raise or I was promoted.
wow.
So it has strong recognition out there. And if you diversify, and the more you diversify, the more they realize they pull you into these special projects. And the more you contribute with your diversification, the more they would reward you.
The more the
There
reward.
is, yep, yep,
And
yep.
and
There is
and
light at the tunnel.
I can say without even knowing exactly what it is that you can maybe say now, I have been rewarded. My hard work pays off.
Correct, correct. Absolutely,
Well, you know what?
absolutely.
But yeah, and again, one could look at one's achievement and one's position, and be covetous and wish that they were achieving in that manner, but would not want to go through
Mm,
the process of that achievement. So I'm hearing now that these certifications were adding something else to the repertoire, adding piece more to the puzzle, making you more marketable, more knowledgeable, um, uh, make others covet you more.
mm,
And I see that coming up even from your childhood days with your in school, from those days, because you told me earlier that the aggressive competition was there instilled in the mind that if somebody got an A, you were driven to get an A plus because you just want to be a step in front.
Mhm.
So going into the professional world and the certification, one wasn't enough, two wasn't enough, three wasn't enough, 10 wasn't enough, 12 wasn't enough. And when your co-workers or your friends hear that you've been certified in 12 different areas and you're still going, what do they think?
Well, I have to tell you, most people that I work with, they call me things like genius. They call me things like, ingenuity. They call me, I've gotten such appraisals for it. And I think nothing of it because for me, I'm a simple person in a complex industry, right? Computers is a highly complex industry. And if you look at the whole computer or the information technology industry and security industry, um, it's sliced up into many different roles. And these roles, like a database administrator, a computer technician, system administrator, an engineer, an architect in computers, these are separate roles under the whole computer industry umbrella. So um, when my peers see that I have all these certifications, they're yeah they're taken aback, but again, I don't take that is not what I take it for. What I would like to do is take my knowledge, what Gary can do, take that knowledge and put it into action. Um, and I have seen a lot in the industry where some folks have as much certifications as I have, more knowledge, have degrees, but they can't put it into a tangible, actionable item for an organization.
Mm,
And that's where sometimes, that's where my broad knowledge comes from, right? It's I'm looking for all these different ways to take the knowledge that I have, and you could call it, for lack of a better term, make a recipe for delivery. And I always deliver, and that's what my peers love about me.
I like the term actionable, actionable. Because some things require common sense, some things require hands-on, and practicality that goes deeper than theory. Some people are good at theory, but you give them the tool and they don't know where the tool works. So so but you go with the theory, the practicality, the hands-on, the tools, and the application of everything and make it work. And so uh, it must be a coveted position that you're in. But let me just remind those who are listening that and by the way, before I even say that, I have been touting you along as the maestro, the book maestro, the genius, the master, the guru, and now we even add the geek. We add the geek to that, which is not an overstatement because the professionals around you are calling you the same thing. So me the brother-in-law who just don't even know the depth of what is happening, are using those terminologies. I am using them appropriately. Let me just remind those who are watching. I'm talking to Robert Nicholas. This is my brother-in-law. We married two sisters and two of the many sisters that we married, and this man, he's a self-taught genius. That's what I've been saying. Now, he has done that by himself. He has lived an isolated life, quote unquote, isolated, because all his attention were in the books. And there was a time when some people around thought you were antisocial because you were antisocial because you weren't out up and about like everybody else. So you were just digging, 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 digging into this. And now we know what you were searching for.
Mm, that's right.
Do you have any clue how many of these books that you have gone through by yourself? Do you have any idea how many of those books that you've gone through? Those big books, little books, small books. And by the way, as I thought of it I thought of this conversation this evening. I'm saying those big books, and those weren't picture books. Those like turn and enjoy a picture. Those were text.
Yeah, easily hundreds, easily hundreds. Not including the electronic versions. Um, my pursuit is a lifelong pursuit. Um, the books that I go through, I still read a ton of books, but now it turned from paper to electronic format
Right.
because of the ease of use and
It's easier,
smartphones.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So I went through easily hundreds and hundreds of books, no doubt.
Hundreds and hundreds of books. Hundreds. And well, again, if you're going to go into that field of technology and to the level that you have attained, then it means you can't get up there without the depth of the knowledge, especially in a competition or in a competitive world where there are others who have some same amount more or equal to that. Yeah, that is just beyond my imagination. Beyond my imagination. So tell me, what has been the most difficult experience in this process for you?
Well, I have to tell you, one of the most difficult in when you're so ambitious and you want to, hey, I'm a technician. I want to be at the top of the level of information and cybersecurity, and as a CISO, right, which is what I am today. The toughest part of this whole process is truly time. You'd find that I spent at I spent a lot of times at Barnes and Nobles on 14th Street, Union Square. I lived there. Every Saturday, like clockwork, I would go there, and study for 2 to 4 hours. And what really was interesting was I had that slice of time once a week, and then I had work, then I had to come home, and I tried to study even more, but time was always the battle, trying to find that time, trying to find not only the time to do it, but the energy and the motivation. So it was really fighting against time that was really the battle, not the work itself. One of the things I said before is, if you love what you do, it's not work. You will
Mhm.
enjoy doing it, and that is exactly what was happening with me. I was enjoying the knowledge, ingesting that knowledge, and when I you know um, reiterated that knowledge back in a practical sense,
Mhm.
I saw the amazement of others when they were like, you could do that. So I was like, yeah, I could do that. And it was very fulfilling. And that's the kind of career you should have, a fulfilling career that shows that the knowledge that you've attained, the time that you've put out into it, is fulfilling at the end, when your peers could respect you and recognize that you're highly intelligent, you have skills. So it's really important that you have that. But time was the greatest challenge, I would have to say.
It's like there's
You want
never
to
there's
learn so much.
never enough hours in the day, right?
Correct.
Especially
Yes,
especially
exactly.
when you double down on books.
Mhm.
So tell me, uh, how do you keep yourself up? Because most of us know that one viewer say that as I hope in a book I want to sleep. Some people, looking into book for some people is like singing lullaby, like as I open the book started singing me lullaby to go to bed sleep. So, yeah, how have you managed to do hundreds of books all by yourself, all by yourself, which I know it must be more stressful and need a lot more energy to keep going, because you don't have somebody next to you reading the same book or doing the same thing that you can even turn to and have a conversation. The moment you take away from turn from your book, there is no help, no support on the book. if you take your head from it because there's nobody to talk to on the thing that you're doing. How do you keep your? How have you kept yourself?
So there's a couple of things. One, and the most important, I think, is understand what motivates you. Um, I am self motivated, and not everyone is self motivated, but I am self motivated. So I always ask my question when I open a book to read: Why am I reading it? What motivates me to read the knowledge or the information that's in any book that I read? And if
Hmm.
I can't answer it, I close that book immediately and say, this is not for me. So it's important to ask yourself why. Why are you picking up a book to read? Whether it's a technical book, a novel, whatever it may be. If there's no value to it when you finish that book, then you're reading the wrong book.
Okay,
Um, yeah.
okay. So there is always okay. A book is never fun. It's not. It's never. If it's a fun book, then there is not much that Robert gonna go after in that book because Robert is not here just to have fun. Robert want to digest and ingest something when he takes up a book because the book must be adding something to what
Mhm.
Robert knows already, or something to that effect. I like the thought of being. My wife will tell you, and those around will tell you that I like the thought of being self-propelled.
Mhm.
When you are self-propelled, you don't need anybody to push you. You don't need anybody to inspire you. You don't need anybody to drag you along. You are self propelled. You know where you want to go and you're going off your own drive. There's nothing greater than going off your own drive and passion because you know why you're doing. And I like when you talk about you in the earlier part you talk about going after something that you enjoy, because if you enjoy it, it is not pressure. If you enjoy it, it is not job. If you enjoy it, it is not work. If you're enjoying it, it stress you less
Mhm.
when you're enjoying it.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more and Robert's drive. I don't know. I still don't know how a man sit down and he reads
Mhm.
hundreds of books to teach himself the level of technicalities that
Mhm.
you have. And tell me, after you've gone through those books, what your next steps? You're going after one certification, you've gone through a number of books, and then what?
So the self motivation that I referred to before leads to it leads to that drive, right? That you talk the being self propelled.
Mhm.
Um, I was asked by many senior executives who's my mentor, and I said I don't have a mentor.
They ask you, who is your mentor?
Because they want to know where my drive is coming from,
Yeah.
and I said I don't have a mentor. And they tell me, "No, you don't have a mentor," and I got this squinted reaction like, you don't have a mentor,
Really?
so why are you doing all weird? So I said I'm self-motivated. I said from an early age I learned that I wanted something of my life. So I said if I don't get up and act, the only person to blame is myself.
Hmm.
And and with that self motivation and drive, it comes from inside me. So I know that I have to get up and learn. Now, the other aspect to it is reading the books and not being able to practice what's in the books. That could be demotivating, right? You're reading all this fun stuff and you're learning something new and you're all excited and you'd like to. If you don't have the facility or the tools to try it or the means, that can demotivate you quickly. But I made sure that I had the tools, and I didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have any money, But where I worked, I demonstrated my passion. So every computer in the job, when I was a help desk, that they were throwing out, and some companies threw out some pretty good stuff. I grabbed it. I asked the boss, can I take it home? So I ended up with a dozen computers at home, a dozen of those big cathode ray monitors at home.
I remember when some of those were around.
Yeah, yeah, cables all over the place. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, I
I
remember
I
some of.
really and truly appreciate my wife for letting me do those things because any other woman would kick me out the door, you know. So, thank you, thank you, honey, for allowing me to do that. But
I hope she's watching somewhere. I don't see her face show up here, but I hope that she's watching and listening.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and your niece is excited about it. Shamika is watching on YouTube, and there, we're all excited, and we're all thrilled, and we are all proud that you're part of this family. And again, I go back to when there was a time when, and maybe it still is now, that we, especially now you're gone far west, that we're not even gonna see you. So right now, this conversation is that some people haven't seen in the longest time, gonna see you now via Let's Talk with the Doc. So
Yeah.
so
Okay.
man, I thank you for joining me and helping me to understand a little bit more about who you really are, because I have learned so much more about you that I never knew from childhood days. I it is okay. Okay, so somebody's telling me that she's watching. So she's making sure that she that I know that. Well, Auntie Marcia, your husband is amazing, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you that. And right now, he's telling you publicly how thankful he is that you accommodated him with all those computers, that he felt the pain to watch them go away, because he just felt that there is something that I could have gleaned from these computers. Man, I'm so excited. So tell me, again, this is Robert Nicholas Gary. This is a genius, a self-taught genius, the man who climbed up from, and again, when he was doing these fast foods, selling wings, that wasn't the man was a self-made architect even prior to that. So he was just kind of trying to get a little bit of money on the side while he was pursuing the bigger things, and as soon as those doors open, let go that. And now the man is, and let me go back to tell people, hundreds of books that he read on his own at his home, taught himself. The question I asked you that I didn't hear, after you were, so you read the books, you're in the
Mhm.
pursuit of a certification, you study, you qualify yourself, and then you just go to some place and take a test, or what?
Yes, yeah. I the companies paid for some of it, but I paid for probably 90% of the certifications came out of my own pocket. A lot of these certifications, they know that the books out there are like 4 inches thick, and they know, yeah, if you try to self study, you would probably won't pass the exam. So they create these expensive courses for you to go to, and the courses are really good. Don't get me wrong, but
Mhm,
if you're disciplined enough to study, spend that time to study, you can get the materials and you could go and pass the exams. I
mhm.
passed all 15 certifications. I passed on my first try.
Tell me that again.
All 15 certifications I passed on my first try. Never failed.
Does
And everybody
anybody
I
hear
speak
that?
to,
Does
mm,
anybody hear what he just said? The man has 15 certifications in the highest level of technology and security, and he has never failed one. That is almost unheard of.
it
That is
is.
incredible.
Mhm.
So, with that kind of confidence, are you still in pursuit of something else? Or you
Of
think
course.
you think you're maxed out now? You have maxed out now.
No, no, no. I have there's two more I'm looking at that takes me into a potentially different area of practice, but I am still pursuing certifications.
What are you going to do with yourself later on?
I plan to give back. One of the things I pretty much see my retirement time or my coming to the close of my career is to give back to the young folks out there. Let them know that, hey, getting into the computer industry or the cybersecurity industry is highly rewarding. Um, but I have the experience to let them know that it's not an easy journey. It was not easy for me. I those certifications I passed on the first try, countless hours of studying went into it, and my wife could attest to that. Sundays was my study time. So it's not easy, but when you can demonstrate to your peers or to employers that you have the knowledge and the skills and the self-discipline to do what it takes to bring value to their organization, there is no doubt they will hire you. They will hire you, and they saw that. All the organizations that I worked for saw that. And when I came into the organization and started doing things, they were blown away by the depth and scope of what I knew, and that differentiates me. I got some of the biggest compliments from my last organization in handwritten and handwriting from my executive director, and it was so touching. I have it, in my drawer right now, and I said that's some of the best and biggest compliments I've ever gotten from a senior management. So,
Me going into the chaplain mode now. Then the question would be, how does that make you feel?
it makes me feel accomplished. It makes me feel like that my hard work is paying off, and I'm recognized, as a peer that is highly knowledgeable, it's capable, has the world is my oyster, if you can say that. I feel really good, and that's the reward, when others recognize, who you are and what you can do. It's very, very rewarding. So the hard work, I always believe hard work pays off, and again, I learned that from my
Mhm,
parents,
mhm,
and it does. So you have to hang in there sometimes when things become too challenging. But like I said, try to search for strategies and techniques. Look for, if you're reading a book on whatever practice you may, have something that you can practice on. So now you take your theory and turn it into practice, and you keep doing that. You'll be encouraged more to read the book because you're actually learning hands on. So that's what I did, and that's how I got it to be as good as I am with where I am.
and believe me, when you say as good as I am, that is not cocky. That is not cocky. I can tell anybody that is not braggadocious either. That is just genuinely real. My wife, and I know she said, I don't know what she's asking about. Must be maybe that note that you have in your drawer that is so fascinating. She says, send me a copy for keepsake, Robbie. So maybe I guess I guess you want to delve into what could they say to Robert that is it so impressive. Man, I am so inspired and so fascinated with your achievement, and it that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to you, because I said this guy is incredible, and a lot of us, even in the circle around you, had no clue and still have no clue, because the amount that I have learned from this moment, I am sure those who are going to be listening and watching, and even after tonight, after this live is finished, will be amazed that you sat there, you studied, you worked hard day and night for years. 15 certification, and in my little thumbnail I said, and some. So that wasn't even the end of it, right? You have 15 certifications, and you also have an executive certificate in business administration from the University of Notre Dame. What was the driving force behind that?
um, when I was in New York, a lot of the conversations, I was already, to be honest, I was already versed in business administration. I just didn't have anything to show that I was versed in business administration. I did business administration in college as well, for about a year. So I said, you know what, let me go and do something that will actually show. um, some um, some experience there. And the University of Notre Dame, as you know, is one of the top universities in the country. Um, the course was hard. It was really difficult. But I graduated 4.0 GPA. Again, it was I nailed it. But when I got that particular credentials, yeah, again, my hard work paid off. Promotion started, organizations started looking at me differently, and hey, so it kind of put again another knowledge aspect to adding to my technical computer experience. It added a value add to my repository of experience, and that, like I said, is the diversity part, right? You can learn one thing and be really good at it, but and you're competing against 10,000 folks. But if you diversify, like how I diversify with this certificate, it puts you in a different competitive realm altogether. You become an added value to organizations. So
That is
mhm,
just
mhm,
absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I am talking to my brother-in-law, Robert Nicholas Gary, whichever one you want to call him, the certified name. Um, so the brother now works for a state. He is in the highest level of the technological security of the state. um, and you work in this in the licensing, and part of what you do based on our previous conversation is to protect the state from intruders from all different angles, means, and methods.
mhm.
And what are some of those, without telling us technicalities? What are some of the things that you protect from? And say, yeah, we got to make sure this don't come in. We got to guard against this, guard against that, and you're right in the middle of that.
Mhm. Oh yeah. It's a it's a tough job. It's not an easy job by any means. Um, we the state is a collective, right? I'm not the only one working to protect the state. There are other CISOs and other agencies. Um, but our agency is really one of those main targets for cyber threats. And when I say cyber threats, there's a lot of bad actors out there trying to, you know, gain, looking for financial gain. So
Hmm.
they try all sorts of things. They try fraudulent activities. They try to get into our network. They try to falsify things, reroute, IDs and all that stuff. And it's a it's a really broad and tough job because there is so much that occurs. Um, you might not believe, and this didn't happen on the state level. I'm not saying that, but in my career, I've seen where there's been like 6 million attacks a day coming to an organization.
Wow.
And this is not the state. This is other. This is
Hmm.
throughout my
Hmm.
career. When you think about that, right? The scope and grandeur of that is massive. We're living in a different world today, and with a lot of the political and social unrest that we all, I'm sure, know about, it causes these reactions, right? Folks, know that computers are extremely powerful. Um, right now, the world, the power and the control of the world is in computers.
Yep.
Um, launching a missile or something, fighting wars, those days are still here. But just hitting the enter button to infect an organization or an industry or a nuclear plant, for example, that's the kind of capabilities we're dealing with today. And those are the things that we watch from the state. And I'm a part of that whole regime, that whole US umbrella of trying to protect the country from these type of attacks. It's just like I said, it's not just me. It's a slew of us. We don't. There's not enough of us. Let me
I
just
know.
say, there's not enough of us, and that's why I encourage the younger generation to really pick up the mantle, get into cybersecurity. Um, if you love money, that's one way to do it. Or you could go study finances in Wall Street and make money, right? Don't go into crime. Don't try to do bad things. There's so many ways to make that money if that's what you're after, or to make a good life. But going down that path, you're eventually going to get caught, and we do catch people.
Right.
So it's a dead end. It's a short stick, a dead end. Don't go there.
Yeah, it may appear to be fast money and money you don't work for, but boy, God help you when they catch you. And
Yes,
and and they're getting better at catching people now too. So you
yeah,
know
yeah,
so if you want to make money, my brother is saying, hey, because go study. I'm too old for that now, so I would even begin to think about that kind of stuff. I'm way too old to begin to pursue that stuff. By the time I cover two certification, I'll be maybe using a cane somewhere around. But I am
uh,
so proud of you, man. But I'm glad that you passing on that to young people, because I'm gonna ask you before we wrap this up, what would you say to some young people, girl or boy, who want to come down the path you are? But let me just say, as you said, if you want to make money, check him out. I'm not gonna. I don't know what he works now, but I know what I. All I know is that some zeros are just added behind some figures. There's some zeros are just piling up somewhere around there, and that in itself is a testament, right? So
right.
what would you say? And you kind of partially said that, but what would you say to a young person, young as aspiring person who would like to go down the field that you are? And I would agree with you that everything everything is gone computer. There was a time gone when even the guys who drive the garbage truck, all they need is maybe a shovel and a pair of gloves, right?
Mhm.
But now they have to handle computers, because location, which one next, what next, got to record everything that you do. Down that world is where the world is now.
Yes.
Advanced technology, everything is connected to internet and computer. That's the lifeblood of the country and the world, and even our lives are
Mhm. Mhm.
connected to the computer. So everything computer is gonna get even more the requirement. And as the world gets more dangerous, and as people are taking more chances, and it becomes more risky, then it's gonna need
Mhm.
people, more people like you. And of course, you will admit, and I thought, and I think of people like you, Robert, and I'm giving you the
Mhm.
kudos right here. People like you should never get old and die.
Mhm. You
People,
know what's funny?
you shouldn't die with all that you have.
You know what's funny? You said that. You know what my one of my employees told me the same thing. He said, I hope you don't get old, Gary. Yeah.
I could imagine, because I've seen some amazing people with so much to offer. They're so brilliant. They're so intelligent. They are so well learned and have so much to
Mhm.
contribute to society, and it hurts in certain way as a big loss, if I could use that as a big loss, when people like you would not be able to contribute like you are now. But it's also the fact of life that no one is indispensable, no one is really invincible. We're all here for a time. So what would you say now to somebody who maybe watch this by chance and say, if you have a dream, it might be hard, it might be long, but keep pursuing it.
Yes. What I would say to the young audience out there is, don't, yes, pursue your dream. Try to establish a vision. That's really important, right? I I I do nothing without having a clear vision of where my destination is, what my destination looks like.
Mhm.
If you don't know what your destination or vision looks like, It's like driving with a blindfold. You're driving and you have nowhere or no idea where you're going. Try that. And I know that's a lot for the young audience to make, possibly digest.
Mhm.
But it's good to have that vision, right? Because now you have a destination to work towards. So now you begin the journey. So that means something to you. I'm beginning the journey to my destination of where I want to be. The second thing to do is when you start that journey, going through the books and the education and the knowledge and stuff, always look for a practical means of motivating you. All of us have a motivational drive at some point. It could be, but please choose the right motivational drive. I'm not saying go out there and do it and take in substances. Look at something that's equated to what you're learning. Like you're learning accounting. Do you need a computer to practice accounting, or get involved in a small business and help them with their accounting books? There is tons of charity work out there, churches, not-for-profit organizations that's dying for help.
Mhm.
You could actually use those used during your college time and your study time. You could use those sorts of areas to leverage your experience. Now you put that on your resume. Now your resume, you don't have the work experience per se, but you have the experience.
Mhm.
So it's kind of looking for these tools and techniques to keep you more motivated to move on. And finally, diversify. If you diversify your knowledge, you would find that you fall into a category that's not the same as everyone else. That has been my experience. I have such a broad knowledge of things, project management, everything that when I'm in a room sitting in a meeting, I already know what to do and what everything is. So when someone goes off course, I know right away when they go off course. And that's a wonderful feeling to have when you have the knowledge. You know what's going on in any room that you're in, with any conversation with anyone. So it is something very, very fulfilling. In some ways, you have all these options and opportunities, and you create that for yourself.
Mhm.
Like I have options with all these certifications. I have options. If I choose to move to California, I could do that. If I
Right.
want to go to Florida, I could, because I have the qualifications, and that brings a sense of freedom
Mhm.
that you will probably not have if you don't diversify.
And it also helps that people won't take advantage of you either, because
Right.
they know they can stop your progress and they can
Right.
prevent you from succeeding. Because if one door is closed, then there are many other doors that you can walk into with the same level of comfort and qualification. I would hate to sit in a room with you. And it's not my field, so I wouldn't be, embarrassed. But if I am in your field of work, and I am halfway where you are, I would maybe sit down and say, Robert, you have anything to say about that? Instead of me trying something and be wrong, I would ask you what you think, so we can hear from the best.
Oh, that's such. That's funny.
Wow, this is incredible. This is incredible.
Mhm,
And you just like in the language world,
mhm,
if you are bilingual,
mhm,
chances are you're more marketable than the person who's not bilingual. But one person one language and somebody knows three languages, then you're much more marketable than the man with one language. Is the same. You talk about the diversification or diversifying means, yeah, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. So if this one pause, for example, during the COVID time, right, this, and we're still in
mhm,
the COVID time, some people could only do one thing
mhm,
in the COVID time, lack of diversification, one thing, and that thing is on pause because it's not operational right now, and you can't do anything else because that's the only thing when you could maybe run to something else and still keep yourself going until that happens again. So that from that perspective, it is important to to diversify, as you say. The other thing you talk about, and reflecting on when you started, is long term, because people want to have things now.
Mm,
The easy things come, and I know, I often say the thing that come easy might not really worth much and won't last too long, but the long term perspective, because you, and again, you move from the architectural pursuit, because that was kind of, oh my god, I'm gonna have to go 12 more years before I even can stand up on my own legs. But then maybe that's not where you were supposed to go, because sometimes life has a way of shaping itself for you, and bring you where you really need to be. And I can see, I can imagine that you are still so proud. I hear it, that you're so proud of your achievement, even though you didn't do the architect to put up the big buildings downtown. But
mm,
boy, aren't you, but you are protecting those buildings downtown.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. If anybody have any question you want to ask Mr. Robert, you can just type it in the chat. I'm gonna take a couple more minutes. If anybody wanted to, hey, have a question or so, we're just gonna give you an opportunity to just express yourself in the chat. I'll definitely try to get your question up so that we can respond to it. We only have a couple more minutes. I am so thankful to have my brother joining me. I am so proud of you. You wouldn't know how proud I am of you, and I really am.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
am, and let me just say this: I have been proud from what I heard and talked to you, but I am 10 times more
Mhm.
since this conversation. I'm 10 times more proud of you.
Thank you.
10 times more, because boy, what I learned is, it's incredible, incredible, incredible. I If I could get a scan glance of what your brain looks like with with the knowledge that's in there, that would be amazing.
Everyone asks me the same thing. Gary, how can we plug into your brain? All
You
the
gotta
time.
walk around with some female sockets in there, like that, just to draw from that, right? That's incredible. That's incredible. This incredible. This man
Yeah.
is a self-taught genius. He's the maestro. He's the guru. He's the geek. He's the, you can name it. He's a genius. And boy, he just did it on his own, being driven from within. My friends, if you're going to pursue something and it's somebody trying to get you to do it, maybe you're not going to succeed as well. But make sure you're driven with your own passion for something that you want to pursue, because even when the struggles and the difficulties come, because you're self propelled, you will still go after it. This man is a testament. What is your last word? What your final words that you say, my friend? As we wrap up this amazing conversation. And I hope that everybody shares this. Everybody share it with your friends and your family. If you have young people in your family and your friends, you want them to listen to this conversation so they can be inspired. If they have dreams and they're struggling right now and wondering if they should keep going, this might be a source of inspiration to them. This man has made it to the absolute top of the line. And boy, he just tells me he's still going he's still going after more.
Be resilient. Be a resilient person. Bishop just mentioned COVID-19, and a lot of organizations had was doing one thing, and COVID hit, and there was no resiliency built in to their career, so they suffered, paid a tough price.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean by diversify. If you have a resilient mind, you know that you have a business or running a business. Plan A. If anything bad occurs like the pandemic, you should immediately diversify to plan B.
Mm-hmm.
And resiliency is all about that, shifting with the dynamics of the environment, right? I do want to add just one last word. For
Please do.
those who Yeah, for those who wants looking for inspiration and in how you approach things. There's a book that I've not, for the record, nor proceeds, not really receiving any proceeds for it, but it's called The One Thing, by Gary Keller. Um, that's it's only like $15 on Amazon.com. You can get it in print and electronic version. But read that book. Um, we all pursue in life. We tend to think that we pursue many things, right? But in life, we're after one thing, really and truly. Not several things, but we live that way. We live like we have to multitask and we need happiness and money and stuff. But always ask yourself, what's the one thing that would make your life easier and things less complicated
Hmm.
right now? Ask yourself that. But check out the book. Again, I'm not receiving any proceeds for it. It's
So it's
just,
Gary Gary
yeah, Gary Gary Keller,
Kel- Kel-
Kella.
Ke Keller.
Yeah, Kellar.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
Gary Keller. The one thing. My
Hmm.
brother is recommending, if you want to be inspired and to pursue something with a purpose and know why you're going at and keep going after it, the one thing that would keep you going, the one thing that would let you go to bed late at night, the one thing that would make you wake up early, the one thing that would make you go hungry.
Hmm.
He said, read this book. Read this book
Absolutely.
and keep on pursuing your dreams. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel or follow me on Facebook, I hope you will do that now, because you never know who's next going to be in the conversation. I got a lineup up till June already, and boy, I can't wait to keep rolling them out. Man, this
Hmm.
is an incredible conversation. This is my brother, Gary Robert Nicholas, the self-made genius. The self-made genius. I am proud to have you as my brother-in-law. I'm proud of you having this conversation with me. Man, now it makes even more sense that I pursue having this conversation with you. We have learned so much more about you, man. Thank you so much, and keep on doing what you're doing, man. Continue to build yourself up. Continue to be a great example. Continue to instill value in others, and I can. And the time will come when you say you want to give back to those. I can only imagine what your class setting will be like. I can only imagine some young boys and young girls sitting down listening to this man and what you have to pour into them for the next generation. I can't wait to hear that. I can't be in the class, but I can't wait to see where, or maybe my grandchild or my somebody sticking with into that, and becoming part of what you have to offer. Now we can offer it as wide as, you don't have to be in a class setting, classroom now with technology, because just to let them know, my brother is in Washington, right? He's in Washington, three
Yep.
hours away from where I am in New York, and look like we are in the same house together. That is incredible. God bless you, man. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. I'm proud of you. And I'm proud to call you my brother-in-law. And I wish I know a quarter of what you know in the computer field, because some things that I'm struggling with and see, well, oh my God, I wish I could do this. Oh boy, man. If I could just tap into a fraction of your brain, I would be like, whoops, get it done.
thank, thank you, Bishop.
But I
Thank
know
you.
you're so busy, you have no time for me, so I can't even call you, man. I can't even talk. So you're too busy in what you do. But man, I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Best wishes to you.
Yeah, same here.
Take care of
Thank you.
yourself. This is Let's
Yeah.
Talk with the Doc. And boy, you never know who's going to join the conversation. Hang in there with me, Robert. I'll talk to you after we get offline. Stay. My friends,
Okay.
thank you for tuning in. Keep sharing this. Keep sharing it. Keep sharing it. If you think there is somebody who should listen to this, don't stop sharing it until you get it to that person. God bless you. Until next time, next week, Wednesday, God's willing, we'll come right back again with Let's Talk with the Doc. Have yourself a great evening. Thanks, my friends, for joining me, Facebook and YouTube. I enjoy your company and your conversation and your fascination. Thank you. You make a difference. Have yourselves a wonderful night. God bless you.